Okay, so we've got a completely messed up template here. I'm going to show you how to import the different templates. So if you've got the zip file with the coordinates file inside the zip, the easiest way is to use the import button on the top. So if we hit that button, we can select the zip file that we've already got saved as a template. When you hit open, it will automatically put everything in the right place for you and use the coordinates file so it knows exactly where it goes, and it'll try to scale all of the graphics to fit the BoothJunkie software, which is great. So if you're coming from another software and you've got all your templates already, BoothJunkie will be able to just stretch them to fill the whole page. If you want to do your own manual import, you've got a little tab up top, Add Files. Go to Add Files, and we're just going to add the PNG overlay file for now. So we're going to select the Add Overlay and Logo file just here. And from there, we'll find the PNG file that we want to use. We'll import that and then head back to the template editor. And that was a multi-shot. So let's go to multi-shot, and we have here another messed up one. And you should find the template we've just imported will be added to this drop-down list. So it'll be either logo or the overlay that you want to use. So for now, I'm just going to use the overlay. There's the file we imported. And you can see it's still rotated the wrong way and the wrong size. So we can go in and instead of using the coordinates file, we can manually set them the right size. So this one is going to be in landscape. So I'm going to change the paper to landscape at the top. There we go. And I'm just going to get rid of everything we don't need. So we don't need the big red VIP graphic. We don't want a background just yet. So we're just left with, as you can see, the gold file, which is in overlay. So the first box is the X coordinate, how far from the left of the paper, obviously 0, so we want it as far left as we can. The next value is the Y axis, how far from the top of the paper, we want that as high as we can, so that's 0. If we were to increase this to say 200, you'll see it drops 200 pixels down the paper. So just reset that back to 0. The width, I already know the width and the height this needs to be. BoothJunkie uses 2592 on the longest side, 1728 on the shortest side, which is already set here correctly. However, it's set to be rotated 270 degrees, essentially 90 degrees counterclockwise. So if I change that to 0 rotation, there you go. Again, you can change this to any angle you'd like, really. So there's 40 degrees. We don't want anything. Change it back to, let's go 5 degrees. 4, 3, 2, 1. There's 1. We have 0. So that's now the full width and the full height. Now for the images, this is where a lot of people struggle. The easiest way to do it is you've got down here a list of buttons for the different elements that you can move. And you can click to select which element you want to work with. So let's hide image 4 for now. We're not going to be using it. We've just got 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to say, let's just get rid of the rotation on these images for now. Put them all 0, so they're going to be straight. And I'm going to select image 1 with this button. And I'm just going to click on the top left corner of where the image needs to go. So in this case, I'm going to click on the very top of the first frame, as close to the corner as I can. You don't need to be exact, just roughly. And it's going to place the image in that top corner. I'll come back to that image in a moment. If we go to image 2, select 2 here, and again I'm going to click just in the top corner of the second image frame, just roughly, and it will place it where I click. Do the same for number 3, roughly there. There we go. Now we need to work out the sizing. So if I start with image 1, we've got the width of the image here. Now the easiest thing to do is just guesstimate. So I'm going to go 550. It's 520 at the moment, so 550 there. You can see it's still got the grey just at the side. So that's nowhere near enough. So if we go 600, it's about right, maybe a little bit too big. Bring it down to 580. That doesn't look too bad. So there's 580 there. Now I want to keep it in proportion so the image doesn't appear too squished or too stretched. So what I'm going to do, you've got the buttons just to the side. These ones just here. the little arrow buttons. So I've set the width already, which I'm happy with. And I'm just going to point the arrow pointing towards the height box, which is the first one here. That is going to calculate the correct height from the width. So I've already gave it the width of 580. By clicking this button, the 780, which is currently set to for the height, should be calculated and changed. There we go. Now the reason it's doing this one is traditionally with a booth you would have a landscape camera or landscape screen. With a mirror you'd have a portrait screen, and therefore the camera would usually be in portrait. Not always. So it has worked out the correct ratio to a point, but in this case it wouldn't work. Reason being, obviously I've got portrait template here, but I am using at the moment, just for example, I'm using a landscape screen. So if I work these out myself, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let's just go 580 divided by 3 times 2, 386. So if we go, let's just run it up. 386 there, I've gone the wrong way. Sorry. 580 divided by 2 times 3, 870. So 870. Now the reason I had those numbers is I know the ratio that the DSLR would normally use. But as I say, with these buttons here, you wouldn't normally need to use any of those. Unfortunately, you can't stretch them, but you can just keep on using the up and down buttons on the box until you find a size which fits it. So I'll put the right size in, but it still looks a little bit too short to me. You can see the grey bar here. What I like to do is sometimes I'll put a background on as well, just so I can turn it on and off and see if I can see any of the background coming through. In this case, obviously I can. So we're just going to change the height there. Let's go back 900, still needs more. 930, looks okay, but if I go to the background, you can see the background is still just showing through. So I'm just going to increase that a little bit more, just go 940. There we go. Background's gone. Lovely. Same for number 2. We know that image 1 is the same size as number 3, so we can just copy these values down here. So it's 580 wide for image 1, and I'll copy that into image 3, and 940 high, which I'll copy into image 3 there. There we go. I'm going to do it manually now without using the arrows here, just to give you an idea of how to work out that. So it's currently set to 520. The image is taking up just over half the space, so if I were to double the 520 to 1040, I know it's going to be about here-ish. So I'm going to drop it down. Let's give it a go at 900 wide and see where we get with that. Not too bad, to be fair. Pretty much where I'd want it to be. Let's have a look. If we change the height to, it's about double that, 780. Let's go 1350. Not quite, so let's go up to 1400. A little bit more. 1420. Should be perfect. And again, I'll go to the background, just up and down on the keyboard, just to try and bring a background in. You can't see the background appearing because obviously there's no gaps been left on the template. So I'll be pretty happy with that. From there, obviously go ahead, just hit the save button, and you can save that so it's ready for an event. What you can then do is, if this is something you're going to be using often, you can use the export button and save the zip file. So I'm just going to put BJ Gold, BoothJunkie Gold. Save that, and that's just telling me it's exported. Now, if I would like to then use this exact same template on another machine, so for example, you can use the trial version on a laptop, export the template as a zip file, stick it on a USB stick, and then you can insert it into the computer for the booth and just use the import button. So if I were to export that and save it to a USB stick, I would now put the USB stick into the second machine, load up BoothJunkie, use the import button, and we'd have the BoothJunkie Gold file which we've just created. By clicking open, that will then import this template exactly onto your second machine. So you don't have to get the booth equipment, your booth or your mirror. You don't need to set that up just to set up your templates every time and try and tinker about with all of this. You can use a laptop if it's more convenient, export the file, save it as the zip, Put on a USB stick, pop it in a machine, use the import button, and it will pull everything back in for you. And exactly the same as what we've done with the single shot. Already had the template saved. This is just the demo template we use. I use the import button, selected BoothJunkie single, clicked open, and I put everything in the right place. It's imported all the files for me that's used in this template, and it kept a record of the sizes which it then imported. That's about it. Any questions, please do let us know.